Hey, what's going on, guys?
Jello.
Been a minute, bro.
I was looking at the last one that we did, and it was May 29th.
That's too long.
Or
that's too long ago.
Yeah, May 29th. So
there's been a lot popping.
That being said, I don't know if this is going to change anything. So you moved into your old house.
Yeah, so the house that I grew up in, we moved into. So my mom's coming up on getting ready for retirement, and it's, I mean, 2-story house, big house that it didn't make sense for her to be in alone. So to help kind of transition that and bear some of the financial burden and really just maximize time with the moms, that we moved in here and get to be helping hand and get to just love on her and have the crazy kids around all the time. She's eating it up, man. Like every morning she's like having conversations with the kids before they come downstairs, because they're not supposed to be out of bed before 7, and like they're in her room at like 6:30 having their morning granny chats, and she's eating it up. And it's kind of cool bringing the kids into the same house that I grew up in. So like all the memories growing up here now, like the kids get to partake and do all that kind of stuff. So it's been busy.
That's awesome.
So it was downsizing and getting rid of a bunch of stuff at our from our house.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you guys had to sell a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, we sold a bunch of stuff.
You did.
Got a storage unit.
Okay.
Liquidated what we could. So yeah, it was a real big downsizing thing. But even coming into her house and helping her organize 30 years worth of stuff and figure out what's necessary to keep and not keep and do all the things. And so it was doing that at 2 households simultaneously while redoing all the floors in the whole house. So it was like a renovation project on top of moving. So it was super stressful, but at the end of the day, it's all good, all squared away. I still got like 100 linear feet of baseboard that I have to take back today to Home Depot. So I have to go pick up my trailer today and take it all back and get it all squared away. So
always running. Take it back.
I know. Yeah. I signed up for the pro account. So I got the pro card. So it's all on my account now.
Dope.
Yeah, dude. What about you? What's new?
Bro. So let's see.
You sound far away from your mic now, bro.
What about now?
A little bit better. I don't know what you did on the bottom, but
I don't know what I did either. Better?
Sort of. Little
better.
There. Mo better.
Better. I gotta talk on the side.
But now it's like muffled. That's weird.
Oh. Well. I don't know. I was gonna put a sock over it so it didn't smell, so it doesn't have like the pop filter thing, but maybe I'll get just like one of those the Bluetooth microphones that like the YouTubers do, and then we'll just use that if we record while I'm traveling. So
I'm down with that.
Whatevs, because this is kind of cumbersome and it's not very good, obviously. Otherwise, the sound
you sound
would be
like
better.
Yeah, you like gotta have to like talk on it straight on the other side.
Like this?
No,
this
like
way. This way.
Yeah, but a little bit farther away.
This way.
That way.
This way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds more better.
Mo better. Yeah, so now I look like hello.
Hello, folks.
Yeah, so Memorial Day, I don't even remember what was going on then. When was that? Memorial Day. What happened Memorial Day? No idea.
That was many, many moons ago.
Yeah, so that was like Memorial Day weekend. Man, what was that? I know something happened on Memorial Day weekend. Let me look at my calendar, and then I'll be able to relay the factoids. Apparently nothing. Apparently nothing. So yeah, so Memorial Day was nothing. Then I don't know. Do you ever remember Mr. Buck from Mountain Point? You probably didn't have him.
I didn't ever had him, but I remember him.
So he lives in Idaho now.
Yo.
and he wrote a book, and I got back in touch with him a few months ago, and then me and Aaron went to his book release party on the 5th of June.
That's cool.
So that was cool. He's doing well, and he's like, his book is, I don't have it with me. It's in there. It's in Idaho, but it's pretty. I haven't gone through it yet because it's not an audio, so we'll probably go through it.
We'll get to it.
So then we did. Oh, and then I went to Phoenix. So you saw me when I was there.
Yep.
So that was the 14th, the 12th through the 14th of June.
Yep.
And then yeah, so then nothing for a couple weeks. So the 28th of June, what day was that? 26th of June. I think it was the 26th of June. I had a liver biopsy.
Oh, shoot.
Because my liver enzymes are high, and they've done all the tests and ultrasounds and all this stuff, and they can't figure out what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, all right, we're going to do this liver biopsy. It's fine. It's an outpatient thing. He's like, we're going to give you some morphine, and then we're going to they have like this little needle. Well, it's not little. It's a needle gun. Yeah. Probably like, I don't know, 7 inches or so. They numb you up and then do a little tiny cut, and then you have to like inhale, and then because I guess when you inhale, your liver slides down. So then they get a couple shots with the gun. Yo. Well, apparently he nicked my gallbladder.
Shut up, bro.
Yeah. So right afterwards, the morphine started to wear off, and I was in like excruciating pain, dude. I was having a hard time breathing. Yeah, like it was like like I couldn't really like take a deep breath. Bro. Yeah, it was bad. So yeah, so they brought me in the recovery room because they had already scheduled that, because that's when the morphine would wear off and they could keep an eye on me or whatever. But the only medication that I had prescribed was hydrocodone pills. Yeah. And so I'm like I could barely breathe. And the nurse was like, here's pills. And so I'm like, there's no way I'm going to be able to swallow these without throwing up. So for like an hour after, I took the pills, and like 20 minutes later it kicked in. So like for like an hour and 15 minutes, I was in this terrible pain. I was like drenched with sweat. My blood pressure was like super high. Yeah. And then like 30 minutes later, it kicked off again. And the nurses and the thing had to call the doctor because the only thing I had prescribed was those pills, because usually it's not a big deal. So the doctor came down, he saw like that I was like having like agonal breathing, and it was pretty bad. And he's like asking the nurses, like, what should we give him? And the nurse is like, well, we can give him some Dilaudid. So they went to the little, they have like the digital locking box with the narcotics in it. They had to go and do that. And and I was like having a hard time taking a decent breath. And I had an IV, a saline lock-in with no fluids.
Just straight.
And so they just put the syringe right on it, and then as soon as they put it in, like I could take a deep breath.
What?
Yep. So that lasted about another probably another hour that I was able to breathe, and I was able to I like kind of fell asleep a little bit. And then it came back. So then they gave me more. Yep. So then they gave me more. They called the doctor that did it is a radiologist. He did it via ultrasound, so like it was a guesstimate ish.
Yeah.
And so I went back into the ultrasound room. They saw that it was bleeding. You could see the cloudiness on the ultrasound. And
what the frick?
Yeah. So and I was in such bad pain, like I didn't want Aaron or Andrew to see me like that.
Yeah.
So I talked to the doctor's like, well, he's like, I don't want you to drive, but I didn't drive. Aaron dropped me off. And I was like, yeah, but I don't want to go home and have another episode. I was like, so if it's all the same with you, I'll just stay. and then that way you guys can keep an eye on me overnight, and then I'll just go home tomorrow. And because it's at the VA, so it's free anyways for me. So they're like, all right. So they admitted me, and then basically like right after they admitted me, the pain went from like an 8 to like a 2. Like it was just uncomfortable at that point.
Yeah.
So then I was just in a hospital bed until the next day. And I didn't get any rest because they came in every 2 hours to check my vitals and all that crap. So yeah, so that sucked. And then like where they did the incision, it's like under my, like below my ribs, and it went through my diaphragm. And I guess like your diaphragm's so sensitive that any amount of disturbance to it causes like really bad pain and spasms, which is what I had. So the bleeding caused really bad pain and whatever from that. Wow. So, yep. And so I didn't train that week. And then I didn't train the week before that, or I didn't train the week after that. The doctor's like, oh yeah, you'd be good to train. This was on a Wednesday. He's like, you should be able to do jiu-jitsu on Friday. And I was like, I can't even take a really deep breath without pain. So I took the whole next week off. And then me and Andrew went and trained for like a day or two. And then we went to North Dakota for work. So I went to North Dakota for work. We went up to Canada the day that we were about to fly out. And this is when the Delta stuff, like when the airline, dude,
shut down everywhere.
So we were in Canada. We went up to Canada. It was like an hour drive from where we were staying. Went up there, went into Canada for like 20 minutes or something like that. So my buddy that I do church security with, he's an ICE agent. So he like knows all the immigration laws and all this other stuff. So I was like, well, I didn't bring my passport because, excuse me, I wasn't even thinking about like, hey, we should go to Canada, like for funsies. So I didn't bring anything. And I was like, and he's like, oh, well, if you just have Aaron take a picture of your passports, they should be fine. And I was like, all right, cool. So we get to the border. This is the day we're supposed to fly out. We're supposed to fly out in the early afternoon, late afternoon, like 3 p.m. And we go through the border in Canada. The lady at the gate at the border is like, oh yeah, this, we usually don't take pictures of the passports, but it's not a big deal. She's like, I'll accept it. And I was like, oh, cool. So we went in. It was like 8 in the morning or 9 in the morning, and the visitor center to Manitoba was closed. So we just took a picture in front of it and then basically just turned around and came back into the States. Tried to. And the border patrol, the CBP agent at the border, he's like, do you know, whatever, asked for our stuff. And I gave him, I was like, I don't have his passport or birth certificate or anything, but my buddy is an ICE agent. He said that the pictures of the passport should be fine. And he was like, yeah, well, your buddy doesn't work at the border. And I was like, okay. Immigration law is the same. So I was like, I didn't try to like have any type of conversation with him about it because he's like on his power trip or whatever he had.
Yeah.
And he's like, how do I know that you're not trafficking him? And I was like, I mean, you have the passports right there. I mean, you can, and in my head, I'm thinking like, you can take him into another room and you can question him and he'll just verify everything and, whatever. He'll tell you everything that you need to know and that he's my son, basically.
Yeah.
So that took like 20 minutes to get through the line. And then he kind of held us up for another like 7 or 8 minutes or something like that. So we went back to the hotel. We got our stuff packed up, went to the airport. Like basically as we got to the airport, we got the text messages saying that the flight from Minneapolis to Boise was canceled. So I had already turned in my rental car and we were like, okay. So we weren't even going to, this was on a Friday evening. So like 3-4 PM. And the dude at the Delta counter was like, we're not even going to be able to get you out of Grand Forks until Sunday evening. And I was like, why? And he's like, because we can't let you go to Minneapolis unless you have a way out of Minneapolis. So they weren't even going to let us go.
What?
And I was like, okay. So then like the hotels were booked. So I was at the rental car place and I was like, dude, I know I just turned my rental car in, but can I get it back so I can drive to Boise? And they're like, no, we're all booked up. And I was like, dude, seriously. I was like, my flight's canceled. I was like, I don't have any way home. And so, yeah, so they went, they're like, oh, yeah, we have a Nissan Sentra in the back that we can let you take. It's going to be, I think it was like $200 for a drop-off fee. And then it's like $100 a day or something like that. And I was like, that's fine, because my work was paying for it. And so I was like, that's fine. That's, it's whatever. But the problem is that Andrew's birthday party was the next day, and my in-laws flew in to surprise him. So they were at our house in Idaho. And so I'm like the whole time trying to make sure like he doesn't find out about them, but he was kind of freaking out because we were stuck. And so I was like, dude, I was like, it's not a big deal. I was like, we'll just drive. It'll be fine. It was like 18 hours. So we left Grand Forks, North Dakota at like, I think it was like 4:30, 3:30, 4 o'clock, 4:30, something like that in the afternoon. We got back to Boise at 11 a.m.
Just straight.
I drove straight through, and I stopped just west of Bozeman, Montana, for like 45 minutes to an hour. And I tried to sleep, but I couldn't sleep. So I was like, all right, screw it. Or like, mouthwashed, and then went going again. But what I didn't realize is that this is the part where we were driving through Yellowstone area.
Oh shoot.
And it was like pitch black. And I'm like at a point where I'm like drunk tired kind of a thing. So I knew my reaction times were pretty shoddy. And like my only concern was wildlife.
Yeah. So
we're on a 2-lane road highway. And I'm just like looking at the side of the road, like looking for eyes, So like,
eye shine. Yeah.
I'm looking, like see, antelope and deer and all this stuff. And I'm just like, but don't jump out in front of me, dude. Don't do it. So like the whole time I'm just like staring at the side of the road, just kind of like, don't do it, bro. And so we get through the really dark. It was like pitch black.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure.
So we get through that area, and then just on the I-15, I don't even know where it's at, but right when we got on the I-15, I think it cuts south to Idaho. There was a rest stop on the highway, and it was really dark, and there was like no traffic. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna stop here. It was like 4 o'clock, 3:45, 4 o'clock in the morning. So I stopped there. And for 45 minutes, because like I knew the sun was going to come up at like 5:45 ish. So I was like, as soon as it starts to get light, I'll be fine. And I can drive, at that point. So we got home, we got to the airport, the Boise airport, because that's where my truck was at, which is on the way anyways. So we pulled in the parking garage, we loaded all of our stuff into my truck. I drove the rental car to the return. We got into my truck, we went home. And Andrew was like, he saw my in-laws in the house and he like freaked out. So he was pretty stoked. And then like we had like some of his friends over, and it was like
awesome.
It was like, I was just kind of delirious,
I'm sure you were.
Of the time. I went to bed at like 6 o'clock and I woke up at 6:30 in the morning. So I slept like 12 hours or so.
Straight 12.
Yep. And so that's how that was. And so like for the last month or so, I've only trained like 2 days. The school was sold to
what?
Yeah, I know. To a husband wife, Brazilian professors. So they're running it now, which is fine. But I didn't get ownership. So I still have to have that conversation, see if it's even possible. And if it's not, it's whatever. But if I'm going to be coaching, then we're going to have that conversation about where that compensation comes in, because I'm not going to keep doing it for free. So so that's where that's at. Me and Aaron went to Colorado, to Denver, the weekend after 4th of July.
You guys have been busy, bro.
Yep. And then So I'm here until so I fly back home tomorrow. From here, I'm at Kansas City, or north of Kansas City. I'm right by the airport, and went to Fort Leavenworth today, which is really beautiful. It's like rolling green hills and trees and
That's
stuff.
beautiful.
And yeah, and
That's
then
awesome, man.
next Thursday we go to Vegas for ADCC.
Yeah, I'm seeing if I can like just drive there and meet you for like dinner or something, because I know ADC is sold out. But
Well, I have. So here's the thing: the two people that were supposed to come with us kind of just told me last week that they're not going.
okay, so how much are your tickets here?
How much are the tickets? Well, if you and Amanda go, then you can just have them. But they're like $300 tickets. Yeah. So
when is this?
Because when?
Yeah, next weekend. Not this one. Next weekend.
It's the. We'll be there Thursday. Hold
on. So the 15th through.
So it doesn't start until the 16th. So, or sorry, the 17th and the 18th are the 2 main days.
Okay.
But we get there Thursday night, Thursday evening.
Oh, okay.
So if you drive up, you just have to pay for a hotel. And you can have the 2 seats. They're right next to us. So.
Oh, yes, queen. Okay.
So the downside is that I'm sure the hotels are going to be expensive because CGI is there now too.
Oh, dude. Craig Jones Invitational, bro.
So dumb. It's like, you're kind of messing everyone up who wanted to go, and then obviously everyone who would go to ADCC would go to your event. So like you would have made money either way. You didn't have to, ruin it for a lot of people who had planned for the last year and a half to go.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that part's frustrating. That's a whole other thing, dude. Like the whole like Fair Fight, foundation now. Like there's like a lot of stuff coming out. Like if you watch any like the Craig Jones ADCC freaking back and forth craziness, but
yeah,
wild craziness, dude. But yeah, dude. So I have been training. I was thinking like try to meet like 4 or 5 days a week for the last little bit, and then I was like consistent, and then during the whole move, shut down this house, next house, move over, all the different things, I didn't train for like 3 weeks, bro, and put on all the weight that I worked so hard to get off, dude. Like boom, right back, dude. I'm like, I am not 17, 18 anymore, bro. Like bad. So now I'm back on the downward trend, and Pierre's like, dude, I thought you were losing weight, bro. Like talking trash, I'm like, he's like, dude, just don't hurt me, bro.
Okay. He's kind of a jerk, actually. Actually. He is. I mean, I love that guy to death, and he's an amazing person. Sometimes he's a jerk. It is what it is. But it's all out of love, and he doesn't mean it, But
yeah, he likes to talk trash.
Maybe.
So he got all mad because I passed his guard and collected into side control, and he got all mad and like got all like fussy with me. Like he's like, see, that's what you get. Take it for side control. So he like swept me back over, and like he was just smashing me in side control. He's like, that's what you get for taking me in side control. I'm like, bro, you shouldn't have let me pass your guard. Like I'm just a blue belt. You're a brown belt, bro. Like whatever. He's like, you're bigger than me, bro.
He was actually he was contemplating stopping.
Yeah, a little recently.
Yeah, and he had texted me about it, and I was like, dude, you shouldn't, like, it doesn't matter how long you've trained, if you're, I mean, who cares if you haven't got your black belt yet? Like, I mean, it is what it is. And he, and part of it is just because he's had to move and change schools and stuff like that. Then that's just kind of how it goes. And I mean, if I never got promoted again, I wouldn't care because, as long as it's like, I'm not a blue belt forever, which that's just kind of, cause then you kind of get lumped into, no offense, you get kind of lumped into like the guys who've trained for like just like a year and a half or 2 years and stuff.
Yep.
Whereas like when you're a purple belt or more, people are like, all right, you're, you have some background and, whatever. So
yeah,
that's kind of where I'm at. So
I'm like, no offense taken, dude. I'm like, I was a freaking like 4-year white belt, and now I'm like working on a 3-year blue belt, dude. So, living, bro, So like, I can hold my own with most purple belts for the most part.
Yeah.
Some get a little rowdy. But yeah, dude, honestly, I feel like same way. Like the whole, like, I used to want to be promoted so bad, like, oh, belt chase, like chase the belts, chase the stripes, whatever. And now I'm like, dude, if I'm a blue belt forever, let's go. As long as I get to train, bro, you know? And it's been cool lately, like the last, since I've been going back to Marcio's. It's like every time I get on the mat, I kneel down, I like put my hands on the mat, kind of like I'm stretching out my shoulders or whatever. And I just pray. And I'm like, Lord, thank you for stepping on this mat. I pray that I honor you through training tonight. However, like, be an example to whoever, you know, display who you are to somebody tonight. And it's really been kind of rad because God's brought some different people from all walks. There's an older purple belt, Rob. He's awesome. He's got tons of years of sobriety, drugs and alcohol, but like similar stories. And he's been, you know, his story is crazy. Then you've got this like 17-year-old kid who just decimates me every single time, but he looks like a grown man. So like at first I'm like, oh, no big deal. Caleb's like, just, you know, he's this big old Brazilian dude and whatever. And then I found out he's 17 and I was like, what? You've been killing me, bro. 17 years old, just annihilating me the whole time.
Yeah, but he's probably been training since he was 7.
3.
Yeah. So he's got 14 years.
Yeah, incredible.
So I mean, as soon as he hits age, he gets promoted. Basically, is how that probably works. As soon as he turns 18, he's going to get his purple belt, and you know, whatever.
He's wild, bro. So super good. His sister, same deal. Has been training since 3. I rolled with her last night, and she was like, just made light work of my elbows and arms, and you know, it's just wild. But you know, it's just kind of cool, dude. The privilege of using jiu-jitsu as a form of worship, whereas before it was just a physical activity or a mental release or whatever I, you know, classified it as before. But it is all those things, but now has become an act of worship. You know, like I want Lord, like, train these hands for war, but I want to do it in a way that's honoring to Him. And God's really just been bringing conversations and stuff. You know, I got Caleb's like, got me in Spider God. He's like, did you ever watch The Chosen? And I'm like, you know, breathing through a straw. Like,
and you haven't.
And I haven't, bro. I'm slacking.
Dude, for real.
Slacking. That's exactly what I told my dad. I said, no, my buddy Mike, if he was here, he'd probably strangle me too because he's a purple belt, you know, because I haven't watched The Chosen. He starts laughing, dude. It's freaking big old, like, you know, sausage earlobes, you know, 17 years old and never have normal ears ever again. But you know, God's really been bringing some cool people, dude. Not to even mention like Marcio and his family. They're all super solid Christians, man. Like the whole fundamentals of the whole gym is just, it's Christ and Him crucified, man. It's been a pretty cool that God's brought me into you know, an academy that I'm in now, where that really is an undercurrent and everything is faith.
Yeah, and I totally didn't even think about it, but the professor and his wife who are running the school, my school now, they're like Christian, like, I mean, so I guess if I look at it, because the couple that was going to do, like, partner up to run the school with me, their relationship was heavily toxic, and I never really like tried to be in that at all. But it's like, it's at a point where, you know, anyways, I don't want to badmouth them, but it was always like back and forth, and you know, just not a good situation. And it's just unfortunate because, like, I really enjoyed both of them. They're really, to me, really nice and always kind, and they love teaching and stuff like that. So that part kind of sucks. But like, I think the way to look at it is, you know, now with, you know, the two black belts, Professor Beto Fadul and his wife is Fabiana. And I mean, their English is terrible. It's awesome, you know.
Yeah, I love trying to decipher the Brazilian English, bro.
It's like, you know, but we have to do all like the old school uniforms now, so I can't wear my weedified rash guards, but maybe I can work in the Jesus in Jiu-Jitsu one at some point, maybe if I get that one, because they're sold out right now. But
it's strictly blue, black, and white.
And it's all Gracie Barra stuff, yeah. So, which is fine. I mean, that's how it usually is everywhere, so it's not a big deal. But yeah, I think it's a good it's a good change, and they'll bring in a lot of students because they're actually going to be focusing on marketing, and the previous owners didn't really do that a whole lot, and
Yeah.
there's stagnant student population, you know. So I'm glad that's going to be happening, and uh, yeah, and I get at you know I got my buddy Efren, he's an LDS guy, he was in you know he's a felon for stuff in his past, and he was saved through LDS, and all that stuff. The way that they go about it.
Yeah.
And he's always like, "Hey man, you training today?" And I'm like, "No, dude, I'm not even in the state, bro." And or he's like, "Hey, are you training today?" I'm like, "No, I've got church stuff going on, or whatever it is." And he's like,
Yeah.
"Dang man, when are you gonna come back?" And I'm like, "Just go. Like you can train without me. Like you don't need me there."
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, "It's fine. You're gonna be fine. Like don't worry about it." So but they're in that new phase where it's like they want to train all the time. And like for me
Yep.
and Andrew, especially, Andrew's kind of like he was a little burnt out because there was like no real kind of teaching going on for the kids. It was kind of just like
Yeah.
the same thing kind of over and over. And so he trained with the new professor yesterday, and he said he really liked it. I mean, he's like, he loves the Brazilians. Like it's just kind of his thing, and
Yep.
makes him feel like more comfortable. Um, but he texted me, he was like, "It was great, but the not training for a while really kicked my butt." And I was like, "Yeah, your cardio is kind of sucking, is it?" And he's like, "Oh yeah." And I'm like, "Well, then it's fine, like you're going to be training for the rest of your life. It's okay to
Yeah.
take a month off
Take
every
it
few
easy.
years, like we've
Yep.
only taken a month, like we took about a month off in like February, and then not even really taking a month off, but just kind of like doing other stuff for July.
Yep. Yep.
And then we're just going to get back into it. So the downside for me is that when I travel, I'm trying to find a way to like figure out which hotels have laundry.
Oh, yep. So you're not bringing stanky
Yeah. So
stuff home.
that's kind of the thing I'm working on, because like aside from like this trip, I would be able to train tonight.
Yeah.
But I'll be back here the week of the 7th of October for a conference with my boss. And then I'll be back in this hotel again in November for a week for another event at Fort Leavenworth, and then at Fort Riley, Kansas, which is west of Topeka. So I'll try to see if I can get something done during those times.
Yeah.
I think I saw a sign I mean, there's nothing on the website that says there's laundry rooms or anything like that. So
Which is wild.
but I saw a sign in the hallway that says laundry, guest laundry, 4th floor. And I'm like, bro, what?
Advertise this.
Dude, because like if there's people like me, they would stay here just because there's a washing
A laundry
machine.
room. Yeah.
So, but anyways, it's been decent rest, I guess
Well,
you
yeah,
could say.
that's what I was gonna say, dude. Like, there's wisdom in knowing when to rest. Like, yeah, dude, take a month off. Like, so like, I mean, even like my pastor just recently, they just got back like 2 weeks ago from taking a sabbatical, which is like is kind of unheard of for being such a new church that we are, but really learning when to take that rest and he was even talking about it, like it was like, people ask him like, how can you even do that, like such a new church? It's like he's like, God's built this team that I even trusted, like I can step away and the team can run it and the people can speak, and like, it doesn't need to be from me, like and he said that was one of the greatest things ever, is taking a month off and just being with the kids during the summer, just being available, just spending time with the family. And he really spoke on those are finite moments, and that's always kind of been my view anyway, is this is a finite window. Like I've got my kids for 18 summers until they're off running and gunning, doing their own thing. I have 18 summers to make something happen. 18 things, 18 summers and blocks of time that I can choose to take intentional rest and spend time doing different things. Like, rest doesn't necessarily mean, and sure, it can at different times, like just laying in the bed and, resting, physically resting. There's a time and place for that too. But rest emotionally, rest spiritually, rest mentally, all those things are there's wisdom in exercising rest. Like for taking the time off, the month of February off from training, that's fine. Because even like as a jiu-jitsu family, tonight I'm going to go train probably the 4:00, so then I can take Jaren to the 4:00, but then turn around and take him to D1 training for football because he's doing football this season. So like training schedule for that. So that takes us out from 4 to 8:30 when we get back home. And those hours, like that's 4 hours in the evening time that I don't get to see Arya and Liam and Amanda because I'm training or taking kids to and from. And, there's even a time to pull back from those things. So you can use those time because we only have 24 hours in a day, how we're allocating those hours. And sometimes you just got to take a step back and spend those hours taking rest, like stepping away from the things you're doing just so you can, invest those moments in different places. It's biblical to take rest. I mean, look what God did, He created for 6 and then said on the 7th he saw it was good and he rested.
Right here, bro.
Like, boom, right there. That's what I'm saying, bro. Look at that.
The Hebrews 4, chapter 4, verse 9 through 11. There remains then a Sabbath rest for the people of God, for anyone who enters God's rest also rests from their works, just as God did from his. Let us therefore make every effort to enter that rest so that no one will perish by following their example of disobedience.
Yep.
So
resting's important, man. And I mean, even like for you, you're busy on Sundays doing the safety team and at the church, and I'm busy doing like having a day that is your rest day is biblical. God took it on the Sabbath. Some people are like strictly adhere to the Sabbath. I'm not doing anything. But I get to I have the privilege of serving my church on Sunday, and it starts. I get to the church at 6:30 in the morning, and sometimes I don't leave till 1:30 in the afternoon. Like it's just.
Well, yeah, because you guys have to set everything up.
Tear everything down.
You guys have a campus, you won't have to do that.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. And then it'll be nice to even like be able to lock the doors down with a switch and like have cameras set where we need to instead of setting up all the cameras, taking down all the cameras every Sunday, yada, yada, yada. But I'm waiting for God to open the doors for that. But like right now we're set up takedown, and a part of preparing the way for people who haven't experienced Jesus yet is cultivating the atmosphere physically by transforming the YMCA into a church, man, putting up a stage, the pipe and drape, and then on our side making it safe, installing the cameras, going around, doing what we need to do, checking perimeter doors, all the things that need to happen. That's a privilege that I get to do on Sundays, but that doesn't allow me to take the Sabbath. So I have to take that intentionally at other times, like whether that's the Saturday, I don't do anything, whatever. Being intentional with those times is biblical to take your rest. You need it. Your brain freaking needs it, man.
Yeah.
You need it, bro.
Yeah. And for me, like serving on Sundays isn't like, I don't really feel like it's a work kind of a thing. Nope. It's more, I mean, I don't know. Like some of the guys will take the day off from serving and just attend the service. Mm-hmm. But I don't think there's really for me anyway, I don't think it's needed, just because when I'm there, I'm there. And unless I have to be in the lobby for the whole service, which doesn't really happen that often, then I'm in the sermon anyway. So it's having an earpiece in my ear doesn't really matter. That's really the only difference, because I would always be carrying.
Yep.
So, and
that's the same way I feel too.
I might as well just be ready to go, especially nowadays with what's going on with Iran and stuff right now.
Yep.
So Lord knows what's going to kick off. Hopefully nothing
at any time. Yeah.
We're always kind of anticipating that, but it is what it is. We have concerns. And do you get the Christian Warrior training emails?
No, I need to subscribe to those for sure.
That way, I mean, because he comes up, he sends out like alerts and threat levels
and
and
certain
whatever.
levels of stuff. Yeah, I'll have to subscribe to that. I mean, dude, and on the other side of that, right? Like, we're talking about rest, we're talking about physically resting. But on the other side of that, with all the stuff that's popping off, with all the potential of things, especially safety-minded individuals, all those things that are going on, still taking the time to rest in his presence, right? Like, there's no amount of anxiety or anything that's going to spur me. Like, there's no amount of worrying that will add anything to my life. But knowing there's a difference between worrying and then a difference being prepared. Like,
Yeah.
planning for what potentially could happen, but resting in the peace of Jesus. Like, I don't need to. I've read the back of the book. I know how this happens. Like, the war between Gog and Magog, right? Like, there's
Yep.
no surprise that there's surmounting attacks against Israel. It's in the Bible. Read
Mhm.
Revelation. It's going to happen. Resting in how much God loves us, that he's going to provide for us through this entire thing. So being prepared, which means doing your part to maintain what needs to be maintained, whether that's ammo, whether that's your family's training, whether that's food, whether that's water, whatever preparation that God leads you to do, that's our job to do it. But I rest in his presence, knowing that his peace surpasses all understanding.
Yeah.
His provision is perfect. He's going to provide for me and my family because he takes care of the birds of the air and the grass of the field. How much more is he going to take care of me, his chosen son and daughter, our chosen sons and daughters? Like, that's what I can rest in. So yes, there's physical rest and in your physical body and mind and emotions and heart, but there's also the faith in knowing when to rest in his presence. Like, even when everything in your life feels like it's spiraling out of control and everything's around you burning, that I can just sit back and be like, I don't know how God, I don't know how this is going to shake out, but I'm going to rest in your presence. And sitting like John did at the chest of Jesus, in such proximity to Jesus that he heard his heartbeat. That's the rest that I want in my life, that I'm so near to Jesus that no matter what's happening all around me, that I can still hear the heartbeat of my King. Like, that's the rest that I want, the level of peace and the level of knowing how much God loves us, that no amount of anything, it says, that no fear could come against me, right? So this is what we talked
Mhm.
about and for our church at our church on Sunday. Most people think like the opposite of fear is faith, but not really. The opposite of fear is 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 knowing, is being loved, is knowing how much you're loved. So in scripture it says perfect love casts out all fear, right? Like, we get anxious and fearful when we don't think God loves us enough to provide and take care of me. So when I'm overcome with anxiety, that's really my lack of trust in how much God loves me. If he takes care of the birds of the air and the grass of the field, how much more is he going to take care of me? So this, how to overcome fear, is to know how much God first loved you, that he's not going to let anything happen to you, and he's going to provide, even when every way is smashing against you. He's going to provide a way out, or he's going to give you the strength to withstand the attack that you're going through. It's knowing how much God loved me, and that love casts out that fear that I have, the anxiety that I carry, and knowing that. And I was really challenged in that this Sunday, because I've always heard the opposite of faith is fear, and the opposite of fear is faith. He's like, you can do things scared, like Peter getting out of the boat. Jesus, if that's you, tell me to come out.
Mhm.
What's he do? Come. He hops out. He was scared. He did it though.
Yep.
But the opposite of fear is to know how much God loves, is being loved. So I was challenged in that too, knowing and resting in how much God loves us, that there's no fear, because whatever happens, I'm still in the hand of the Creator. I'm still in the hand of the one
Yeah.
who loves me beyond all intents, shapes, and purposes, the one that will provide for me and protect me. Like, in order for things to happen, I'm still in the middle of his hand. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you have to
So
understand too, during all that, is that we're on this earth for such a blip of our
yep.
overall existence. And just knowing that it doesn't really matter what happens on earth,
Yeah.
because I mean, it's easy to say, right? It's easy to say like, yeah, you don't have to worry about anything, but we're human, and we're going to be concerned about human things. Like,
Yep.
I'm concerned about my family, but ultimately I know that when it all is said and done, we're all going to be in heaven together,
Yep.
and I don't know. So like the concern is always there, but
Yep.
not really, So, yeah, I mean, I guess just having that understanding of what is going to happen kind of puts a little bit of ease in the concern, So it
Yep.
doesn't mean like be lazy and be, whatever. But with the Peter story, or Simon, whatever you want to call him in this, I don't know if he hadn't changed his name yet, right?
I'm not quite sure. I
We're
don't
just gonna
remember
say
this part of
Simon Peter because
it.
that's
See,
just
Simon Peter, you cover them both. Done.
Simon Peter, boom. Because in that instance, when he says to come to me or whatever, and he steps out and he starts to look at the water, he starts to sink because he took his eyes off Jesus. He took his focus off of what really mattered. He was focusing on what's going on, in the earthly area, as opposed to what his soul and what Jesus was telling him to focus on. And that's why he started to sink. And The Chosen, it shows a very good kind of depiction of that. So if you ever watch it, you'll be like, "Oh, snap!" Like that's
what
good.
he's talking about.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a good.
I mean, really, that's it, dude. Because even if when you take your eyes off of what God says and His Word and who Jesus is, and you start looking at all the other things in the world, how this economy is going, how the dollar, yada, all the things that are going on, then you start to get overwhelmed with the things. That's when your peace starts to sink. That's when you start to be over, like the anxiety rises and the fear rises as we've taken our eyes off and our focus off the one who is peace, the one that we can rest in. It's exactly what you're talking about, man.
Yeah. Yeah, we have to, remember to take the time to like focus on what's important. We have to like make sure we're doing our reading and we're praying and stuff like that, and I mean, you're going to forget like when like I usually don't forget to do the Bible, but there's some days when I'm like, it's just kind of like a checkbox thing. And we have talked about this before, and it's like, I don't like feeling that way, but sometimes whatever the book is or the verses or the chapters are for that day, it's just kind of like, this is not, I'm not in it today. I'm not feeling it today. And then every once in a while I'm like very in tune with it and what's going on and stuff like that. And with, like when Aaron and Andrew's birthday was the week of the 22nd, 23rd, 24th. And we went, Aaron's cousin came to Idaho, and then my buddy Jan, we call him Jan. I'll tell you why offline, because his name's Jonathan. But yeah, he's from Wyoming. And they came up and we did the river jet boat tour in Hell's Canyon.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it was pretty awesome. And it was like kind of stressful for me because I drove the whole way up there. And then on the way up there was like all these like construction areas. And it was like, one of them was like an hour and a half wait because it was just backed up so far. And it's like mountain roads and stuff. And just think of like going up the I-17 where the sides are mountains on both sides and it's 2 lanes. And it was like, it was traffic control and then like 1 lane, and then you go and they're only doing like 10 cars at a time. And like people had enough time to like park their car and get out and talk to the cars behind them. And some like people went out and took went potty. And I'm just like, dude. And it's normally like a 3-hour drive, and it took us like 6.5 hours. And I was
holy
like,
crap.
I was like, this is insanity. And I was like freaking out.
It's so done.
So then we got to our Airbnb, which was awesome. And Aaron's cousin paid for everything. So I appreciate that. And he's a single dude. He makes a lot of money, and he was just like, oh no, I got it. And so
heck yeah.
That was pretty cool. We saw some elk on the way into the canyon.
Ooh,
and I don't know if you know, but Hell's Canyon is like the deepest gorge in the world.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Country. It's like 2,000 feet. 2,000 feet or 2,000 feet deeper than the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, because I think the Grand Canyon's like 5,000 feet deep. No, I could be wrong.
I don't know. I don't know what it is, but it's deep. It's deep. So they're like, this part of the Hell's Canyon is deeper, is the deepest part in the country or the world or whatever it is, but it's deeper than the Grand Canyon, which I had no idea. So,
which is wild.
It's crazy. And are you looking it up right now?
I'm trying to.
I can't remember the exact verbiage, but it's like in the country or the world. Maybe not the world. But yeah, so during that whole time, like, yeah, it's a vacation and stuff, but I don't get to rest.
Oh yeah, nearly. So at the Snake River sinks an astonishing 7,993 feet beneath the canyon rim, nearly 2,000 feet deeper than the Grand Canyon.
Oh yeah,
right. So 5,000. Yeah, we're right. Look, we know geography.
I did. And so like it was a fun trip and stuff like that, but for me, like having to drive, it was almost not fun. And
high stress. Yep.
Because like we stayed in a town called Whitebird, and it's on the Salmon River, and we had to go down to the tour's place, which was only like 3 or 4 miles away on the highway, and check in, and then we had to drive back up to Whitebird and then go over the mountain pass to get to the boat ramp for the river, and that was like 16 miles, but it took an hour.
Whoa.
Because it was dirt roads and back, switchbacks and stuff like that. And so I had to do that, and then that was in the morning. We had already checked out of the Airbnb, and then the riverboat tour. And so the other weird, crazy part is that area is on Pacific and Mountain Time Zone.
What the heck?
So it was like every time you'd look at your watch or phone or something, it would switch back and forth.
What?
And yeah. So when we got done, it was like 4:00, and we're like driving back, and then it like got really dark, like to the point where it was like the headlights came on the car automatically. And there's like all these fires and stuff, and like it was raining, and I mean it was like real eerie, dude. And so I'm just like, everyone else is kind of like chilling, and Andrew's sleeping, and Aaron's sleeping, and and Preston and Jan are in the backseat like goofing off and having a good old time. And I'm just all like they're helping me kind of relax because they're my homies and stuff. Yeah. But it's like and it's not an easy road. It's like along a river. They build the road along a river for a reason, because it's easy. And there's like fires on all over the place, and the one way, the highway north or west rather, but technically north, it's kind of like the 10 where it goes west, but it's going from Tucson to Phoenix. Yeah. So there's a town in Oregon, just inside the Oregon border from Idaho, called Ontario, and the highway west of that was closed because of fires. So we were going that way, just because it's a different way. And luckily we did, because if we would have came down the way we went up, that highway was closed because a car caught fire and then caught the area on fire.
Oh my gosh. No.
So luckily we went the other way, but it was like still, and by the time we got home, it was 9:30. So from the morning of that day, we went on the river. I drove in, drove out, drove all the way home. And then I was at a point where I was like, bro, like I don't want to drive anymore for like the rest of the year. Like, cause I'm smoked. So, and at that point, once I got home, I'm resting, I'll cook. That's fine. I'll grill some stuff, but I'm not going anywhere. Like I'll sit, like, you guys want to do something special? Like you guys can go and get whatever. I'm going to hang out at home, because my home is my castle. You know what I mean? That's where I'm chilling. Like I could be doing whatever at home. That's resting for me.
Yep.
Even if I'm doing like a project or like cleaning guns, which is like one of my, that's like, I don't know why that's so kind of relaxing for me, but it's like, man,
therapeutic,
just like so chill and whatever. But you gotta get that time in to kind of recharge. You got to recharge your batteries, man, because not only is it like bad but like your stress level goes up, your blood pressure goes up. I mean, the cortisol is just not good for you, you
Yep.
know? Yeah. So
100%. Jesus pulled away from everyone to rest. He
yeah.
pulled away from everyone to go sit on the mountain with his king, with his God. Like, if Jesus did that, we should take notes from Jesus and do it for ourselves,
dude. And in the most recent season of The Chosen, there's a lot of examples of him doing that, where he literally comes in and he's like, you could see he's like just wore out, and he's like, hey guys, I need to rest. You know, he says it with his accent, I need to rest. Sounds almost Brazilian, but nah, I need to rest.
It's coming off, it's wearing off on you
already.
It's true, man. Take the time to rest, because no one else is going to rest for you.
Yeah.
No one else is going to recharge your batteries but you. And that's like one of those things, knowing your limits, knowing when you need to pull away and take some rest so that you can be the best father, the best worker, the best employee, the best business owner, the best fill in the blank, the best minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ. Like, the best version of yourself can only happen when you take the appropriate time to take a rest.
Yeah, and I know and one of the, like, a thing that kind of stands out to me a lot lately, more than usual, is people like really focusing on burning the candle at both ends to make money. You know, like that, to me, like I get that idea, but I'm at a point now where your life with your family and your children, spending time with them, is far more important than making millions of dollars. Because if I'm working 18-hour days, 6 days a week, I'm taking more time away from my family than I need to be. And what does it matter at the end? What does it matter?
It doesn't. Nope.
You know, and I always kind of like, Gil had a comment the other day, him and his zingers that he does. He had sent a picture of I guess Audrey started kindergarten, and we're talking about like time off or whatever, and I was like, yeah, dude, your time off is going to be based around your kid's time off of school. And he's like, yeah, my family always comes first. And I'm like, bro, I'm not saying that they don't. Like, what are you talking about? And I'm just saying, like, now that kids are in school, your time rotates around when they're out of school. Like, it's
100%.
He like got offended that I said it, like that he wasn't thinking about it already. And I'm like, I'm sure you're already thinking about it, dude. I'm not trying to imply that you're not focused on that, but it's like a new concept. And I'm like, you gotta chill, man. And
like, what?
Yeah. So I was like, all right, well, that's cool story, bro.
We'll let that one ride.
Yeah. So, but and I anyone who is in a position where you're like focusing more on your income than a lot of stuff, you should recalibrate on what's important to you.
Yep.
Because you can't really focus on your family 100% if you're focused on making money 100%, because those two don't coincide generally.
They're not compatible usually.
And back to what we were talking about as far as like being prepared for whatever, your family should be coming first.
Yep.
With being prepared. Like, and when I say that, and I post this stuff a lot, and I don't think people understand like the seriousness of it. If you are a parent and you are not trained and or familiar with how to properly use a firearm, or like a dad, if you're a dad and you're not training how to fight, whether it's jiu-jitsu, boxing, Muay Thai,
whatever, don't matter.
It could be Taekwondo, I guess, if that was something that you. I mean, don't.
If that was the only thing accessible, learn it.
Don't like give me the dirty look, dude. If you're not doing that and training with a firearm regularly, Nate, yeah, on cue. If you're not doing that, you are setting yourself up to let your family down, because there's so much stuff going on in the world today, and it's going to get worse.
Yep.
Especially with the election coming up.
Yep.
That if you are not like, it's, if you want to put your kids into martial arts, you need to be doing them too, for a number of reasons. First reason is that the coaches hate when one of the parents on the sidelines trying to tell their kids what to do and they have no idea about what they're talking. Okay, that's the first one. The second thing is that if your kid knows more martial arts than you do, you are wrong. Like, that's a bad thing. So if that's something in your world, and if John is listening to this, John, you're gonna put your kids into jiu-jitsu, you need to be training too, bro. Okay.
Yep. I'll go with you.
Being proficient at shooting is not okay. You need to be exemplary, because when it comes time to it, and it only takes 50 rounds to 100 rounds a month, that's $30. Go shoot. Keep shooting. Practice. Even if it's dry fire, you got to do it.
Yep. Because
you need to be able to protect your family at all times. I mean, it's just not, it's not something that there shouldn't be a question. Mm-hmm. And it's like it's hard for me because I talk to the dudes on the safety team, and Matt's going to be listening to this. I know, because he listens to every episode as soon as they come out. He's a former infantry guy. I try to talk all the guys at church, like, you got to do jiu-jitsu.
Yep.
And shoot. So we go shoot all the time. Like, our church team goes and shoots once or twice a month pretty consistently for our campus.
That's awesome.
But I'm like, dude, you guys need to train jiu-jitsu, because if the escalation happens, you don't need to pull your gun.
Yep.
You know, if someone's wearing a coat, like, I can throw them on the ground quickly without having to do anything.
And 8 seconds correctly choked, they're not functioning any longer. They are a limp noodle.
Yeah. And in like the way that people train these days, or don't, 30 seconds of someone going full on, they're going to be dead tired, and you're going to have the ability to dominate them after that anyways. So,
yep.
That's all I have to say about that.
Train.
If you're going to put your kids in, we have a dude, Dries, he's from Australia or New Zealand. I can never remember I don't know the difference. He sounds the same. His kid was training for a while, and he's going to start training. He shoots really well for someone from down under. And so he's a good example. He's going to start training. A lot of people are super worried about getting injured, dude. And that's like crazy to me. Yeah. Because like, if you're worried about getting an injury from training to learn something that you can protect yourself and your family, and you may get like a sprained knee or a broken finger every 2 years, maybe. And that's like at the beginning. And then once you learn how to train better, like, it's harder to get injured, because like, you won't go crazy, and like, you can control other people who are going crazy. It's like, bro, your concerns are negligible. Like, just let it go. Like,
just do it. It's just an excuse at that point.
Yeah. So
you just got to do it, man. That's it, dude. This was here for everyone listening, bro. And is take what we're hearing and take what we're saying, and applying it. Not just going through the motions, not just doing your things, but like, listen to what we're saying and research it for yourself about the statistics of, the proficiency of shooting and training, and matching this together, how more likely you are to use physical hands versus a firearm in a fight every day of the week. Yeah. If I can de-escalate something physically before I have to move to the use of deadly force situation, every time we spend we allocate all our time and resources and energy into become proficient in the very last step of the scale versus everywhere in between, both equally. And secondly is we have been given a mind of logic, of understanding, and we are made it in the image of the creator. It's our responsibility, especially as a man, to do what's necessary in studying, in preparing, and doing due diligence in praying for and protecting our family, because no one else is going to do it for you. Whether that's your wife and kids, or your mom, your dad, whoever, your family unit, however that looks, it's your responsibility. So you set the tone for your home in everything, spiritually, emotionally, physically, emotionally. And it's your job as a man to step into what we're called to do and to put our feet forward and make forward motion, whether that's signing up for jiu-jitsu, whether that's figuring out a place where you can, spend $30 a month and shoot, become proficient, down to getting a Bible, teaching your wife and your kids how to pray, and what a praying and a spirit-led man looks like, as an example for them to have an example of what to look into rest to. So if I'm being an example of Jesus, that gives my wife and kids something they can know. If I'm present doing, they can rest assured that I'm going to complete the task that's before me, right? They can rest that I'm going to protect them, because I've given them an example of what rest looks like. I can trust in me as an example of what I can rest in, as an example of who Jesus is, right? So if I'm doing my best to embody Jesus, then in pursuit to follow Jesus, then they look at me and they can rest in the Jesus they see in me. And as men, that's our job, is to be a representation of who Jesus is, first to our family, then to everyone else. So
and one of the Andrew knows like the books and stuff that I listen to, and like how they are, and what they entail, and most of the time they're like, end of times or post-apocalyptic, and that kind of stuff. And when we were in North Dakota, he thought that it was
like that.
It was starting, or something was starting. And he was kind of I don't know if he was like scared, but he had some concern. And he had asked me, I can't remember exactly what he said, but he had brought up something along the lines of like, hey, is this like what happens in your books? And I was like, I mean, we don't know the scale of what's happening right now, but I mean, yeah, possibly. But this is why I travel with the stuff that I travel with, because I have no concern getting home within reason. Obviously, if I have to walk, obviously that's not super exciting. But if airlines are shut down for whatever, that's not a concern. So I made sure that he was confident that he didn't have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
I made sure that he understood. This is why I travel with my pistol, and I travel with, I think I have like 6 magazines and then another 50 rounds. So he's he knows what's going on. He knows that I can fight. He knows that he can. He's not helpless either. If I get into an altercation and I lose my pistol, he knows how to use it. He knows how to, do whatever he's got. Did I give you one of those Sharpies?
No, you were supposed to. You were supposed to, and never brought it down. You got busy.
Oh, sorry. I
love you though.
The pistol is fine, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so if your family knows that you have the ability to control the situation, or at least kind of not control the situation, but you're able to be, I don't know, protect them in whatever instance or something like that. It helps them have the ability to rest, even if it's a situation like when I was dealing with, and it wasn't that big of a deal, but he was concerned, and then he was able to sleep. I mean, he slept like most of the trip, even though he showed initial concerns right away. The other thing is, you have to go soon,
but it's all good.
Oh, okay. So we got all the way through North Dakota. I think I don't know if we were in Montana yet or just about to cross the border into Montana. And my work credit card was at its limit. And I was like, because it got declined at the pump, and I was like, dude, seriously, like I was freaking pissed, dude. Because like my work card, it has like a $2,000 limit. So because usually after each trip we submit the expense report, it gets paid. But because this trip incurred more than normal, it hit the limit faster, which isn't a big deal. I just call and have it updated. But it was a concern because I needed gas, and I was like, so luckily it all worked out. And there was like $80 left or whatever, and when you use it at the pump, it does a $200
the whole.
So when I went inside, I was like, put 70 on it, and I guess there was like 80 or 90 left or something like that. So like once I filled up, luckily it was a Nissan Sentra, so I think I spent like $90 driving home on gas because it got like 40 miles a gallon. But I was like, when we left there, I called American Express, and I was like, hey man, this is what's going on. And they're like, all right, cool, we're gonna add another $1,000 for the weekend. And then there was no issue, you know what I mean? So I think stuff like that is good for kids to experience and people to experience as a whole. Like I said, it wasn't that big of a deal, but Andrew initially was kind of concerned because he knows the books that I listen to. So he was like, oh man, is this like going to happen? And if that was the case, so be it. Like that would have been something we would have had to get through. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So, prepare yourself to deal with that, and make sure your kids know like that you can handle what's going on. But also I think it's important that they're knowledgeable of potential outcomes in the world. I don't think it's, depending on their age, right? Obviously, you don't want to teach Liam about like Israel and Iran, but like the older kids, I think it's more than acceptable for them to understand what's going on in the world to an extent. Explain to them like, the world is the world, and outside of the United States, even though United States seems to be like not the best place to be, it's still the best place to be. And you just have to, like, this is the way the world is out here. Show them a little bit, let them know like, hey man, this is why the country that we live in is the best, and let them see, within reason, whatever you feel comfortable with. But I think it's important that they know at least a little bit.
I agree 100%.
So that way they feel comfortable with you, and they're able to rest knowing that you got it under control.
You're capable. 100%.
Yeah.
Well, dude, let's pray this thing out of here, bro, and we're gonna get back to this thing on a regular occurrence versus once every 3 months, bro. Because thug life, we're gonna do it. Now that life's a little bit more tame again. But let's pray. Jesus, we just come before you, Lord, and thank you for who you are. What a privilege and honor it is to be counted as son and daughter. Most importantly, to rest in you, to rest in your presence, Lord. And you've opened up the ability for us to rest within ourselves emotionally, physically, spiritually, Lord. But it all comes from resting first in your presence and knowing who you are and whose we are. So, Lord, we surrender to you. Have your way in us, Lord. Let every one that listens to this podcast be touched by your presence only. And, continue to bless Mike, his family. And we just surrender and bless you for blessing us first. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. All righty, bro. Everybody,
later, y'all.
Listening.
Yes.
Love, peace, and chicken grease.
Oh, I like it. Laters.